Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to run with. The way you do this is you leave a comment letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to use, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Inferno8694. He says, the Vietnam War American Soldier, Class Assault, M16A4 no attachments, M1911 no attachments, small med pack, no gadget, M67 frag grenade, knife Bowie, field upgrade your choice, camo your choice. I hope you choose my loadout. Keep being awesome, LevelCap. Well, thank you, sir. And here we are using the M16A4, a very iconic American weapon, well known for the Vietnam War. It's been used in pretty much every single U.S. war, and it's been one of the staples in the U.S. military for a long time. It's still in service today, and it certainly is a marksman's rifle in real life. It's a very large gun. If anybody's actually held one in real life, you'll notice that the length of the weapon is pretty long. So running around all run-and gun style in close quarters would be very difficult with this weapon. Cornering with this weapon is hard because the length of it is crazy long. It is a rifle, full-on rifle. It's not a carbine. It's not going to be good for getting indoors in close quarters. This is an outdoor long-range weapon. That being said, size isn't really taken into account in Battlefield 4 very well, so you can take large guns like an M240 Bravo indoor, run around corners, no problem with that. Guns don't really seem to clip into the environment, so it's not an issue in Battlefield. This can be close quarters, this can be long range, it can be whatever you want it to be. But for the sake of this loadout, we're running it Vietnam style, which means stock. We got iron sights on there, no barrel attachments, no foregrip, no nothing to really help compensate with this gun, and it is a burst fire gun, so it's going to recoil quite a bit. This is essentially what you're going to be playing with when you first unlock the M16A4. The iron sights themselves are certainly some of the easier iron sights to use out of any weapon out there. I think red dot sights are superior to any iron sight out there, so clearly it's a downgrade to be using iron sights, and it does get a bit tricky once you start firing because this gun kicks back a lot, the muzzle flash gets in the way, you lose your target. It's very hard to track people with the iron sights, and I had a really hard time keeping my crosshair on target, much harder than I do normally with guns, and the fact that it's burst fire and you have to click and drag your crosshair at the same time makes it that much more difficult to be precise. Now, burst fire weapons in Battlefield 4 did get a little bit of an upgrade recently to try and help improve their accuracy, and what was done is that the first shot recoil multiplier, instead of being applied at the beginning of the burst, was applied to the end of the burst. So you're still going to get the same amount of recoil in one burst of the weapon, however you're not going to kick back as much on the first shot, so your initial 3 rounds should be much more accurate than they were before. This will allow you to put 3 rounds somewhat on target. The problem is the gun only does 25 damage maximum, so for you to get a kill with a 3-shot burst, you're going to have to definitely hit at least 1 headshot and 2 body shots with that 1 burst, which I gotta say is very difficult to do. And honestly, the hardest thing about weapon balance in Battlefield 4 is you're taking real life guns, realistic weapons, and trying to take all their mechanics and make them as real as possible, yet adhere to a damage model where it takes 4 to 5 shots to kill somebody. Well, in that damage model, 3-round bursts don't really make a lot of sense. You need to put a lot more rounds into somebody, so a 3-round burst is essentially almost guaranteeing that you're going to need to take another burst after that. In real life, if you put a 3-round burst of 5.56 ammo into somebody, they're not going to be returning fire anytime soon. So it's less of an issue with the real life design of burst fire weapons, but in Battlefield 4, burst fire guns have always had a big issue. Now, generally speaking, I would say the M16A4 is pretty much designed for long range encounters. However, without any attachments on here and using the iron sights, it's going to be very hard to drop opponents at long range. It's very hard to be accurate with iron sights, and there's no attachments on here to help compensate for some of that recoil, some of that burst fire kick. So again, it's going to be very hard to put multiple shots down range. Usually each burst at range lands 1 shot, so you have to burst 4 to 5 times at far away, sometimes even 6 times to drop your target, at which point you're going through an entire magazine just to take out that one guy from really far away, and it's going to take you a long time too. I was losing long range gunfights easily to guys using the AWS LMG, so you really don't get much of a benefit at long range with this weapon, at least when it's in stock mode. So if you do just unlock the M16A4 and you're trying to rank it up, don't really set yourself up for just long range kills. I recommend medium and even close range. It's not going to excel at close range, but at least you'll be able to see your targets. Now, if we pop open the stats from Simthic.com, you'll see that the gun has an 800 round per minute rate of fire, which sounds great. You know, that would actually put it at sort of the top of the list for assault rifles. It would make it a very good assault rifle, just like the M16A3 was a very good assault rifle in Battlefield 3, one of the best. But this is burst fire, so actually hitting that 800 round per minute rate of fire is near impossible unless you're a machine or you've basically just been practicing with the M16A4 for so long that you've got the rate of fire, the click rate that you need down so precisely that you can hit that every time. It's almost impossible, and honestly, if you can hit that every time, then I would say you're one of the best M16A4 players in the world out there. Some people, and I hate to say this, but some people use macros to try and hit that perfect rate of fire. This, however, is something that I would consider to be cheating, even though you're not necessarily installing a hacking program. Macros are kind of the next step down from just full out cheating. They're giving you an in-game tactical advantage. It's kind of like back in the day when you played a fighting game where you used a console controller that had some sort of rapid fire button built into that special third-party console controller. It could give you an unfair advantage over anybody that you're playing with. So macros aside, the M16A4 is going to be a very difficult weapon to use regardless of the attachments that you have on it anyway. So you can certainly use it and you can tweak it out with attachments. Obviously the Vietnam version of it is going to be one of the hardest to use. Just stock M16A4 is not going to be particularly great. Once you start to try and compensate for some of that recoil, maybe using a muzzle brake and a stubby grip or something like that, you could get a bit better with it using your optic of your choice, but still it's going to be very hard when you come up against full auto assault rifles that still have good accuracy. The Ace-23 has great rate of fire, almost 800 rounds per minute, and it's still got great accuracy at the same time, so you're not really bound to try and work around the burst fire mechanics of the weapon. Now, as far as the rest of the kit goes, as if using a stock M16A4 wasn't difficult enough, we now have the med pack instead of the med bag. Now, the med bag, in my opinion, is so much better than the med pack. The med pack, you can throw it down, it'll heal you on the run. It can be better than the med bag in very few situations. It's pretty much only if you're on the run and you need to heal constantly. That's where the med pack is better. But if you're in a firefight, a prolonged firefight, the med bag will stay down. It will continuously heal you even after you get shot. If you're shot while healing with the med pack, it stops the heal process, and you have to throw down another pack to continue the healing. This can slow down firefights and it can often get you killed. I was killed so many times while throwing down med packs while trying to use this Loadout effectively. Using a stock 1911 as a sidearm, I have no problem with that. I really love the 1911. Sure, there's pistols out there that I would consider to be easier to use and better, but it really is rewarding using the 1911, and the stock 1911 is definitely a competitive pistol. One of the downsides of the 1911 is its magazine size. It's usually easy to get a kill with it, but when it comes to getting 2 kills with a single 1911 magazine, you find yourself in a much trickier situation. So it's great for that one straggler that you run out of ammo and have to finish them off, but if it comes down to taking care of 2 people, you're gonna be in a bad situation. The M67 frag grenade is still a very good grenade. I use it all the time. I find myself jumping between the minis and the M67. I really can't decide which one I like more. The minis can provide you that volume of explosions sometimes that can really flush people out of their cover. Overall, this loadout was fun, but I can't recommend it as being a good one. You can make the M16A4 a much better weapon. You gotta throw some attachments on there, maybe even think about using a higher powered optic. So that wraps it up for this episode of Loadout. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave your comments down below letting me know what to run with for next week's episode. And as always, guys, I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.